Time has already started. However, we got the deck kind of going in so that I can kind of show you guys. So until that happens, let me check the file. If it's sent. Still not yet. Okay. Anyway, so while I'm doing it, I'm talking. So my name is Sirls. I am primarily a product designer, turned software engineer, turned startup founder, and I'm happy all of you are here with me today. So by quick show of hands, how many of you guys are already not using AI personally, but using AI in your business? Show of hands. All right, cool. Just like really quick, I want to get some. So the way I want to do this kind of conversation, there's a lot of things to talk about. And obviously, you guys know, speaking about AI, sky's the limit on what you can do with it. But just like maybe like 2 or 3 people, I would love to know how you guys are using AI right now in your businesses.
Well, in my case, since I'm disabled, AI helps me a lot to write down my sentences from 1,000 to word.
So, anyone else?
Copywriting, writing code, everything.
So, well, when you say copywriting, obviously,
Yeah, well,
it was like
copy for a website.
Okay.
And then if I have to write, make a plugin, help with the code or debug, things help debug.
So, anyone? Yes.
Of course, I'm a self-starter, so I am doing online, but I used it to be able to visually demonstrate a prototype of a visual. So, more on the graphic side of a product I was pitching.
It's a prototype and visual. Would like
To be able to show my idea other than just in words to have a picture to go with it. So it was something different, so I wanted to brand it and all that.
Gotcha. One last person. That's something like really unique.
Yeah, so I finished like using the word, and I've been literally like using to rebrand this and come up with new different product lines, and I mean, you name it. Even when I couldn't organize my own like priority list, I just threw my to-do list in there. It told me like, hey, this is what's gonna be low impact, high effort versus like what I should really be kind of focusing on. So I pretty much use it on a daily basis.
So there is a really good personal hack that I'm trying to get to sit up. If you guys ever use text, I love this. So one good thing to do, this is my business partner right here, Sirls. So he and I both are co-founders of Storytailor. You guys have not heard of it, we'll go over it a little bit. But one of those things is start small and start with something fun. I think a lot of times people are trying so hard to do something complex and solve the world problem that you gotta learn to break stuff and play with stuff and just have fun. And it's through those small fun things that you actually learn the complex things. And so don't go like, I wanna make the greatest SaaS product, so you start from there, right? So one thing that I've done is I'll go into ChatGPT and I'll take a picture of my refrigerator, like my refrigerator with all the stuff in there, and I'll say, using anything that you find in this photo, create a good recipe for it. Right? And so it'll all the leftovers, all the stuff, and you'll be like, you can do this, and it'll give you a cool recipe. Another thing that's really cool is I did this, and I didn't even know this. You'll see what I'm saying. And that is just that. Give me 1 second. Can you help me out, ma'am? Maybe you got a blank shot or something. It looks like it's not trying to send through. Okay. That's okay. Okay, so it would be find a. I went in and I said, give me an award-winning recipe for chili, and it added chocolate. I didn't know chocolate was in chocolate. Like what? And so anyway, but here's the catch. What most people do with ChatGPT is they just go with the first answer. Never go with the first answer. Ever. Okay? So and now I'm gonna give you, let me give you more bars. And that is,
if you start first with, let's say, I'll say it like this. What makes chili great? Start with that. And it'll just have it research. What makes chili great? And then after it does that, then go, give me something better. And it'll do that. Then say, give me an award-winning recipe. And so what it's going to do is going to take those first couple answers, but never go with the first one. So right when it makes that recipe, don't refresh it. Say, make it better. Then make it better. Then make it better. I do it 3 times. That third one, you're welcome. You have a good recipe. That's a good one. And when we made it, that is now my family's favorite chili recipe. We did the same thing like apple pie. We did the same thing with a lot of different things. But you got it? Perfect. Okay. And so let's see. While it comes up, because I want to make sure we can really have use the time here. When it comes to, I'll get to Storytailor. Really quick though, if there was anything that you guys could automate. So there's a lot of use cases. You guys are using AI right now, but if there was something that you could automate in your personal and professional lives, like what would it be? Anybody got? Paying all your bills? I'm gonna actually get to that in a second. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Apple Intelligence actually does that right now too. Yeah. Apple Intelligence does that. And I'm gonna get to email in a second. Cause see, like, I'm gonna get on this. There we go. So I don't have a clicker though. Oh, there we go. So one of the things that I was thinking about when it comes to email, and so to give you kind of a little bit of background, I actually advise startups and certain businesses with AI tools. I've actually been working with and on AI for as early as like 2016, 17, when it wasn't cool. Now it's cool. And I got to be like beta tester of this crazy little app called ChatGPT before it came out. And so I got to like play with some things. But one of those things I was thinking about on email, before we get to it, is when you think about email, right now, we have all these tools to help summarize and write email for us, right? And so as we start to think about that, if you get an email, if I get an email and I can have AI summarize the email, and let's say ChatGPT has an assistant that knows all about me, then theoretically, over time, it would be able to respond to that email because it would know what I want. And so then I email you back, but I didn't. The chatbot did. But then if I give it to you and you do it the same, then we're never talking. You know what I mean? Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just asks us, what is communication going forward? Opportunity, business owners, I'm trying to give y'all bars here. All right. and so if we start to think about, like, we got places like Slack, things like this, if there's no longer communicating, then is it intent and quick communication? Because if the AI can communicate with another AI, my AI to yours, then could technically a negotiation happen really quickly, a conversation happen really. How fast can something just get done and I don't have to be in the middle of it? Or even just say, hey, this is okay because it knows me. Anyway, think about that. I'm gonna get to something that's closer to that here in a second. All right, so I mentioned a little bit about me. I am founder and CEO of Storytailor, co-founder right behind you with the robot dog. You guys can check him out later. I am a full stack designer. So full stack designer is just a designer that also codes. So in this space, I've been in publishing. I've been in publishing my entire life. So I started in publishing actually when I was 7 years old. My half sister, her father's an award-winning children's book author and illustrator. If you guys are familiar with Shane Evans here, he's out here. I actually mentored with him for several years when I was much younger. So that was a lot of fun. I have my MBA in innovation, which is like really random to get an MBA in, but trust me, it's dope. And then and a BFA in children's writing. So again, I'm a published children's book author and illustrator. That is my entire life. My Wonka hat, that is my nickname. My passion is to become the living version of Willy Wonka. While that is funny, and it is funny, when I think about Willy Wonka, if you take away all the fantasy about who Willy Wonka is, Willy Wonka found a way to put adults and children in the same room and they wanted to be there. So if you think about it, you have this old man who loves his grandson, but he didn't get off his ass until he thought he could see Wonka, right? And so if you think about, so what I want to do with my entire life, well, that's why I like AI, because it has a really fun vibe like that, to get adults and children in the same room and want to be. Anyway, so yeah, passionate about AI, all the yada, 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 you saw it. All right, so talked about what we'll discuss today. If we have time, because we lost a bit of time, definitely real world use cases. I just kind of gave you a couple, but we're going to talk about some a little bit later. And then, let's go. And then explore AI's impact on design, coding, and future tech. The future tech part is what I'm really excited to talk to you guys about. I've been in a couple of rooms where they're talking about where AI is going, and it blew my mind, and I want to put you guys on to that. If we start today, you guys will be prepared. It's really exciting stuff. It's going to sound crazy, but just bear with me when I talk about it. Okay, so we just talked about that a bit. Okay, this is me and my business partners. This is a grind. Personal thing, but just if you guys get to a point, let's stop using AI powered or like AI enhanced or like hey, please stop. That's like saying my website's cool because it's HTML powered. It's like, it's getting to a point now where like, okay, you have AI. We know you probably do. Stop. And where that goes to is, let's talk about more value, right? What is it doing? Not the fact that it has AI. And we get into a deeper question, and where we say focus on the value, but we get into the deeper question of, do you actually need user-facing AI? So mind you, I own an app that is user-facing, but we actually removed AI completely from the site. Not to mislead, but because that's not the point. Parents so for Storytailor, I get to it, but Storytailor helps anyone, anywhere, in any language to create a personalized story for their child in under 90 seconds. I didn't mention AI, right? Because it's irrelevant to the parent, right? And so as we start to think about the things that you're going to have users see, is AI really that important to see? And studies are actually showing that if you put AI powered, it actually lowers trust, right? So because some people are like, well, if AI is doing it, then the AI is doing it. So does it really know, or is there error? And also AI bots or like chat bots and things like this, the things that are actually named after people, like you got Claude, and Claude is interesting, but Claude has less trust than ChatGPT because it's a person's name. And so, and the problem, and these are a lot of studies that are happening right here, but if you have something that has a name to it, like even Siri, for example, we don't like Siri. I mean, I like Siri, but you get me. Most of us don't like Siri. But why don't we like Siri? Because we thought of it as a person. And when that person started making mistakes, then we're now more upset because we expected this person to make mistakes. But when you have ChatGPT and it messes up, we're not mad. Why? Because we know it's a bot, right? So even as you guys are even thinking about potentially even having things like that, let's try to get away from actual names and just get a little bit more clever on what it could be without it being that name. It's actually doing really well when users, and it's showing a lot of studies that are saying, hey, going in that direction is actually more wanted. Okay, so what is AI? What is generative AI? Most of you guys already know, but AI itself is just, a system that mimics human intelligence in order to get a task done. Generative AI is things that make stuff. Right now, a lot of people are knowing more about text, images, and code, but actually design is on its way. So people like myself, product designers, are like, uh-oh. And there's a lot of other things coming. But when I think about generative AI, there's two places where I think about it the most. There's a little bit of history on it. What I think about it the most, that is personalization, and executing mundane tasks. Now, these things we might already know, but let's talk about it a little more. Personalization, right? Accessibility is one of the most groundbreaking things that we can attack going forward. And if you think about it, every single time a business addresses anything with accessibility, all of us benefit from it, right? The idea of the elevator, the idea of certain crosswalk, like even the ramp on the sidewalk, what was it for? It was immediately for accessibility needs. But now when we're walking groceries or we have, is it something that we can use those things? But if we think about AI for accessibility, then we're talking about websites that automatically change their copy based on the person who's logged in the moment, right? You know what I mean? We're talking about, and think about it, when we go to a website, we think about accessibility needs. We think about the big things like the color and the contrast, right? But what if there's somebody, and I think about this a lot, but what if you got the mom with 3 kids, single parent mom with 3 kids, and she had to drop all of them off at 7, and she has to log into your silly company at 7:15. That's an accessibility need because she's tired. So what I'm saying is it really, if you think about all the complex words from the company, or the fact that, just right now, I'm just not in the mood right now. Can we because we know that, can it simplify the text in the morning because she's not a morning person, she had to drop off her kids, right? You have to think about things like that. I even think about when it comes down to like, I'm visiting a site and I'm not only am I tired, but I'm a new hire, right? And what's the most frustrating thing? All of you were new hires once. The most frustrating thing is I really want to prove myself. So I'm really, really nervous. I don't know all the catchphrases and the words and all this. So I see all these acronyms that I don't really know. That's an accessibility need too, right? Because new hire actually is, if studies have even shown that, and when you're a new hire, that actually is a cognitive decline a bit in yourself for a while, right? So what if the website, knowing that you're a new hire, now when you go into your inside of the company, let's say like you're in Salesforce, and it starts to explain everything to you as the new hire and it understands. These are things, and I'm just scratching the surface. I'm actually working on something like this. But these are actually some of the things that accessibility can help. But then we think about it on business personalization, marketing copy. You're trying to figure out what's the best header or what's the best this. But what if you can have something where a person logs in and the header changes its copy and everything changes the copy based on the person logged in? Then that means you don't have to worry about the copy, or you don't even have to worry about the sales no more, because it's explaining it to that person why this thing is valuable. These are all really exciting things that AI can do. But when we think about personalization, it's not just your personalization, but how could you create a system that personalizes it for others? So I mentioned just a bit about that. Practical AI implement. A lot of large companies, and I say some of you guys may be, but even the smaller ones, one of the biggest things is if you guys have any AI ideas, again, just like I told you about with ChatGPT, don't start big. Start really, really small. Think like micro SaaS inside of your company. So this could just be, and when it comes down to it, don't think I really want to use AI. I have to use AI. So let me find an AI excuse, because it's going to be really batshit terrible. Right. So, but what you can do is just think about what are some mundane tasks that my users have to do, that my employees have to do. I'd actually even start with employees before I start with users, because helping your employees naturally helps your users or your customers. But what are some small tasks that can be really, really interesting that you can test now, you can try out today, and then from there scale up to see if there's value. So instead of putting 50 people in a team or 20 people on a team, just kind of even with yourself or two small or 2 people or 3 people, and then just start to think about what are some mundane tasks and how can we address those as quickly as possible. And then obviously focus on high quality data. That one is self-explanatory. Depending on what your industry is, I can go on forever, but a lot of people in here are in different industries. But always try to find what's the best. Here's a ChatGPT. Here's a ChatGPT thing. If you guys are using ChatGPT or Claude or any of the others, have it create the prompt for you. It knows what it wants, right? So one thing that I'll do is if there's something that I really want to learn or I really want to know, I'll create 2 different chats. One chat, I'll say, hey, I'm really trying to do this thing and I'm not explaining it well. Can you create a really great ChatGPT prompt for me that I can give to ChatGPT to help me explain it? And it'll actually write the prompt. And then I use that prompt and create another one, right? Really meta, but it works, right? So, but that's kind of like an interesting, like kind of quick way of doing it. We're going to get to some tools that actually Hurston put me on a couple of months ago that I think you guys are going to love. Let's go to micro SaaS. So mention a bit about that. So if I go a little bit about Storytailor, this is Storytailor. I want to tell you a bit about how we started. So I actually did start as a micro SaaS. So I had been in publishing for a long time. I worked at HarperCollins, worked at ABC Mouse. If you guys have children that are in ABC Mouse, I was actually part of the books department that actually got the Read to Me program started and brought up to like 80% ROI, which is really awesome. Did that, hey. And so I left there because they were also there. And so I started working on Storytailor. Storytailor was not called Storytailor at first. It was called PageMaster. And I actually got Digital Sandbox. And I was actually going to help authors find agents because the agents just are terrible. And if you guys are in business, you know that if we pitch to an investor, we can show a deck, we can do this kind of thing. Authors cannot. They literally have to do it in an email, right? And so imagine having the next Harry Potter, but you don't speak proper English and you are hard with kind of writing and you're nervous. You're now pitching to all these agents, but you have this great thing that you can't pitch. I hated that, so I wanted to solve that. But I also found out that just the publishing industry just has no desire to actually be diverse. And having been in publishing, I realized it's actually really true. I'm not saying diverse in as far as race. I'm saying that it's like vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry ice cream, and they really don't think like Ben and Jerry's. And so what I realized was, you know what, if I really want to create a more diverse industry, then I have to turn parents and teachers into the authors. And so that's when it started to come in. So PageMaster started, it was a bedtime story generator. That's all it was. I just wanted to see if it would work. And I also wanted to test how sick it was. Now I'm gonna tell you this, because this is also important. Anytime you guys are building anything in AI, I know you guys have really good intentions. You probably do, but you have to think about the worst person in the room who would use it. Always think about that, okay? Because if you don't think about the worst person, then that's the person that's gonna find a way in and mess everything up, all right? That was the very first thing that I did. So when we did PageMaster, the very first thing I wanted to do is the emails, it would give you the story in an email and a PDF. And I wanted to see exactly before I made something that you log into and you make this, right? A third of the people who made stories were pedophiles. I know. And it was very clearly for 3 to 8 year olds. And it was sick. But also I learned the guardrails. You know what I mean? So the more and more I kept tweaking it to see if they would get past it. They got past it. It was disgusting. But they kept getting past it. So by the time it became Storytailor and I released the official version, it had already checked for intent, language. It would make the story and then check the story again for intent. So now if you went to Storytailor and tried, it wouldn't happen. But that was because first, as a micro SaaS, I tested that, okay? Right now with Storytailor, we have a bunch of different things. You guys can, anytime you guys, storytailor.com, enjoy it for your kids. It's really fun. We're a bibliotherapy platform. So that means that mental health related. So if you go in and you say, hey, my child is going through something, you can make a story about that. If they say like, it'll have everything from, if you have multi-races, so you can put different ethnicities and it'll know it's multiracial. You can put in ADHD, autism, things like that, and the story will address that. And so it'll always equal to the child. Anyway, moving forward. AI and design and coding. Are you guys familiar with any of the tools here? Raise your hand if you guys are familiar with any of the tools here. Okay, those of you that are not, you are welcome. Bolt.new blew my mind. Bolt.new, so this is one thing that you can do. If you're ever going to ChatGPT, if you have an idea for a SaaS, all of you, even in your companies, you got a quick idea and you don't know if it's valuable, right? Go into Bolt, and Bolt is like a ChatGPT. You can, and I would say go to ChatGPT and do what I said, like make a really cool prompt and figure out what it is and get the logic out, because this is not going to think for you. It's going to execute for you. So figure out what your business is. If you pop it in Bolt, it'll make an MVP for you. It'll code it and everything. It's fully interactive. Matter of fact, you could even deploy it and then test it. Listen, it's on some Harry Potter levels. And so check out Bolt. V0 is what that is, not VO, V0. V0 is a bit smaller, but it will do similarly the same. Hurston, can you mention on that really quick? He uses it more than I do.
V0 primarily focuses on the UI aspect of execution. It does have some.
So V0 focuses primarily on the UI part of the experience. It can do some UX mapping as well. And then Bolt would be more of your execution arm. Typically, V0 and Cursor are used together, and I'll let him talk about Cursor. And then, of course, you can use Figma to feed in your imagery and then reference it inside of Bolt or V0, so it actually refines it. You can also do it based off of a different style. So if you go to like Mercedes-Benz's website because you like that aesthetic, you can do screenshots from that website and then take it into Bolt and say, make me a blog that looks similar to this style. And it'll actually go in and do it. And then you can be explicit and say, utilize Tailwind so your developers won't curse you out later.
Yeah, so, yeah. So Bolt, I would definitely say like use Bolt as quickly as possible for all of you guys. Any idea that you have, you can quickly test it. We've been working on the next version of Storytailor, and Bolt helped us really speed that process up to the point where we can release it in 2 months versus later this year. That's because instead of designing it in Figma and clicking around, we actually made a version of it to truly test and see, does it have the experience we wanted? So Bolt is absolutely amazing. I started to say Figma and Adobe because they are going really fast into AI tools. Definitely check out Adobe Max if you guys are looking at that, if you guys care. But I definitely see design being the next thing that I would say. I hate the word disrupted, but it is a place that's going to happen only because of the accessibility thing I was telling you guys about. So there is like speeding up, but there's also this idea of design redesigning itself based on the user who's logged in at the moment. That's crazy, and all of them are working toward that really fast. So now I'm ready to talk about the big thing. I wanted to quickly get to that. So right now, when you are thinking about building apps, or maybe you guys' software applications or things like that, one thing that you do is you have APIs, right? You have API calls into maybe this company does this or this backend from Google Cloud, and you connect to maybe another platform to do this thing and another platform to do this thing, but you're specifically already logged in. You're already making very specific API calls to maybe it's Airtable because you want to update a record. And so all these things kind of happen in a chain, right? When you want to handle something. So, make a letter or save something as a PDF, it would know to get to this company. Like if you use Zapier or Make, you would know that it'll start, you want to start the chain, you feed it, let's say you feed it text, it goes to this company to then turn it into HTML, it goes to this company to then turn it into a PDF, it then logs into Dropbox to save it in a Dropbox, and it then goes into Google Drive. That's how most software works, right? We're getting to a point where it's going to happen personally. I can vouch for this, that I've seen it without messing up any NDAs. It's coming and it's crazy. So let me tell you what I mean. There's a lot of devices that are doing something like this. So if you guys seen the Rabbit R1, it's terrible, but it's terrible. Okay, it's ass. But it's good ideas, all right? The same thing with the Humane AI pen, even worse than the Rabbit R1, but it has good ideas. Android and Apple devices are going to be doing this soon. And Johnny Ive and Sam Altman have just created their own little side company where they're going to release a device. And I don't even want to know where that's going to go. I'm buying it day one. I'm telling you that. So what does it look like? AI, plan my honeymoon. Well, instead of going into a phone and tapping on an app, we now are talking about services that can go, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And in one couple of seconds, maybe, it went to your Notion where your notes are about where you and your wife wanted to go. And so it knows, oh, you want to go to Bali. Knows that. Then it goes it knows in Capital One because you gave it through Plaid or whatever. It knows how much money you have to spend on the trip, right? Right after that, it goes into Airbnb to go look at Bali, to go find places and experiences that are specific for what you talked about in the notes. And it finds them all. And then once it goes to Expedia to find the plane trip. And then it comes back to you in seconds to say, hey, this is what I found. I have it all planned. Do you want to go ahead and pay for it? All right? That means that I didn't go to Notion. I didn't have to go to Capital One to see it. I didn't have to go to Airbnb to look, and I didn't have to go to Expedia. All this happened in a matter of seconds. This is being built right now, okay? Now, the craziest part is right now we're looking at, like ChatGPT just had search, and we're going, oh, how can my company show up in search? I mean, while yes, you guys need to get to a point where you're here, because it's going to get to a point where I'm not going to www. anymore. I'm just going to ask ChatGPT or my agent to just say, hey, I want to buy a gift for my son that's really fun. If your company is not showing up, the companies that will are already there and they're saying, hey, this is what I found based on what your kid likes. Do you want to go ahead and buy it, right? So I was talking about, a UI and UX and things like that. While that is true, it's going to get to a point where I'm not even caring about going to your website to look at the UI. I'm just asking the AI. That happens now. If you guys use ChatGPT now and say use search, what's happening? It's in context of your search. It's giving you answers. It looked it up and it's gathered everything around. So it's not just like Google giving you lists. It's telling you in context. We're now getting to a point where it's going to do all of the above. And I'm not saying that hyperbole. I'm saying I've seen it. You know what I mean? It's coming. And so if there's anything that I would say that's important for all of you guys' business that I want to just, if I sound the alarm on anything, it is to get your companies ready for that as fast as possible. How can you guys do that? Really just start looking at the different API calls that you guys are doing that could potentially be public. Look at research ways that you can have, I think you have a couple of companies like Zapier. You know how like right now on iPhone, you can do shortcuts and you go to some companies and it'll be like, add this shortcut, create this shortcut. If you see Apple's already kind of doing it, if you notice, like create shortcuts, and it's going to get to a point where you just ask Siri because the shortcuts are all there and it's already doing the thing for you. This is coming. Find different ways that you can to integrate that. I can't tell you too much because then I break NDAs, but what I can tell you is just at least even for now, try to figure out the Apple shortcuts, try to figure out what Google's doing, and try to get on that as soon as possible. When you do, not only are you going to now show up on the future of search, because even Google, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 5 years, like Gemini kind of takes over Google search. And it's just like it already kind of has it if you guys Google now where the top gives you answers, but it's going to be at a point where that's just going to be how Google operates. Why? Because it's more valuable than just giving you a list of things that you might want to do. It's going to know you. So how to measure. That's the one thing, efficiency gains. So one thing that we have to do with Storytailor all the time is as we create different valuable things, I'll have to ask myself, because we're using a lot of different, we have our own AI, but we're using some others that are pretty good, like Runway and things like that. So you have to ask yourself, is the future, is what I'm paying for per story or per item, is it worth it? Is there going to be a return on investment over time? And understanding that these systems are going to get better and knowing that, okay, in my stack, can I quickly replace it if I need to? Because the one thing that you don't want to do with AI is become so dependent on a model that it can't be replaced easily and provide the same value. That's a really big important thing. Some people are like, I'm using OpenAI, but if for whatever reason OpenAI crashes, can you quickly replace it with Claude or something like that? If you cannot, rethink that stack as soon as possible. Because the dependency will knock you out. And that's because there might be somebody better than OpenAI that comes that can provide it better. And now, like any other company, you're spending way too much money just to replace that versus trying to find a really quick back end. Are you guys familiar with Hugging Face or FOW? Do you guys know what that is? Okay, so if you guys get a chance, write this down, Hugging Face. I know it's the dumbest name ever, but it's valuable. I say dumbest, but I would have named it that, so never mind. I mean, am I dumb because of? Anyway, so then there's that, and there's FOW. FOW, I think it's FOW.ai. These are really cool tools because if you go to Hugging Face actually has like Llama, which is Facebook's Meta's AI, and all these other models that are like maybe more open source. You can actually go there without having to completely make or train your own model. Like do all the infrastructure, and I'm talking about all the servers. Hugging Face already has it, so you can actually do monthly with Hugging Face and then train your own model on top of it or explore different models that you want to. So, I mean, sky's the limit. There's some I've never even heard of before because people are just open source and making models and then throwing it on Hugging Face, and you can totally go in there and plug it into your stack. I say that because that's one of the ways that you can kind of replace. But I was just saying, like, if you don't like move out or if you're dependent on OpenAI, you can use something like FOW or Hugging Face. And so if you ever want to change it, you already have the connection to Hugging Face. So just change the model. And now you don't have to worry about all the end points because Hugging Face takes care of it. But also, it's just a really good place to go in and explore. It's FOW, F-A-L. Yeah, FOW. I think it's FOW.ai. I visited so much, I only remember the N. But it's either FOW.ai or FOW. But just if you Google it, or if you chat GPT, search it. You know, it'll go in there. But go in there and have a good time. Again, what I was saying earlier, play. Please, I beg of you, because I want you guys to build cool things, do something silly with it first, not serious. I know that you guys have business uses, but the silliness is how you find the cool stuff. I promise you. It's kind of like going into Photoshop. Somebody go into Photoshop because they really want to make a poster. No, go in there and make something crazy for your dog or for your kid. Play around, screw up, because that's where you're going to find the tools that you didn't think that you needed. Questions and takeaways. If you guys have any questions, I'm open to it. But this is all just what we talked about, so I'll leave this up. But do you guys have any questions for me in that space? Of course. Yeah.
So for the business that, like, say, we're building a the things that need to be done so that business A gets over business B, even if they're both your clients, like, how's it gonna serve up if they offer?
Well, that goes into like one of the core tenets, I believe, of business, and that's just my opinion. And that really goes down to what do you like, UVP, your unique value, right? So if you offer two of the same things, like there's a bunch of companies that try to do AI storytelling. We are specifically on mental health of kids and specifically 3 to 8, right? So that means now it's just really niching down to what you specifically offer. So that way, when the AI is scraping or going to it, it's like, hey, I am trying to help. My child is stressed out at school. or my child is lacking confidence, or I'm worried about my child's mental health, or we visited the ER because my daughter almost tried to commit suicide and I want to find fun ways, Storytailor is going to come up, not everybody else. Why? Because that's our thing on top of all the other things. So it's getting really, really specialized. So I won't say that it's evening the playing field or not. It's just forcing people to be more specific.
So keyword focus is still.
I would think so. But I mean, just all the, yeah, things change fast. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So we know that we have still depends on good quality data,
Absolutely.
but good quality data also has bad
Yes, it does.
bias.
Yes, it does.
And I have not found a way that would negate that bias.
I know.
I mean, we have I have human beings,
Yes.
and it's sad but true that there is society that there is bias.
Yep.
And it is good data, because it's the truth to what is happening,
Yes.
but we want to happen.
And that's when we start talking about ethical AI, right? So, for example, Storytailor. One of the reasons why actually I really built Storytailor was because I've been in publishing. I know for example, most publishing companies that I've discovered, I'll get to this, but being African American, most publishing companies actually are not making books for African American children. They're making books for white children about African Americans. That's why you don't see Peter Pan and things like that. For black kids, you see slavery. Why? We already know about slavery. What we need to learn about it for? You know what I mean? Like, we already know. I know about Martin Luther King. I don't need the 700th version of the book, right? What I want to know is, can my kid be Peter Pan or can he be a superhero? They're not making that story. When I first went to publish my first book, I was actually told that my story didn't capture the black experience enough, because it was about a little girl it was about a little girl who took the monster under her bed to school and taught her manners. And while kids loved it, it didn't have the hood in it, because these other groups, they're more of like zoo animals. I don't have to go to the hood, but I love to read about it with my kid. And so when we think about a bias, that was one of the things I wanted to do. Was the very second, if you right now go to ChatGPT and say, make me a story about X, Y, and Z, it's going to always show the same kid. You have to be, and that's why if you go to make a story in Storytailor, it takes a little second to make the story. And that is because quite literally, we have to go through all the biases just to ensure that the story looks like your kid. Right? So that does go into those data things, but that also, and that's one of the things, a lot of people are scared of AI. I was scared of AI, and I was scared of, as an author, it replacing me, and I was scared of, as an illustrator, it replacing me. So what did I do? I became a founder of an AI company to ensure that the very problem I'm afraid of doesn't happen, right? And so when I think about the idea of bias and that being a concern, that to me says opportunity. You know what I mean? Is now, okay, what business opportunity now is there to create a company that specifically only attacks that? And I think that would be a major business, because that's the number one problem we're facing right now. Any other questions or just statements? What are you guys doing? What are you building?
How do you keep, what goals do you have that you're looking at websites and how are you staying in the know of things that are happening and shifting really fast?
How am I personally staying in the know?
How are you doing? Like, what are you doing to, like, is there people you follow, websites? Like, what are you seeing?
I'm friends with him, one. Two, I promise, like, we go with this whole thing, like, I'm Wonka and he's Slugworth. So that's why he's like in the audience, but he's like secretly watching everybody. That's kind of like our relationship. But I've known him for 15 years. And anytime I'm like, man, I'm thinking like, if we could go on the moon and like find a rock and turn that in, he'd be like, already got that. He'll give me like the entire dissertation about how to do that before I even ask. So him, but two, I'm also in the room of certain things because I am a consultant with a couple of places, one of them being Salesforce, a couple others. And so I'm just in the room of a lot of places that are talking about these things. But also, if you guys are ever doing like social media, one thing that's really cool is create a ghost account on like Instagram and TikTok. Not necessarily so that you can be ghost, but the algorithm will only specifically follow the things you do. So if you can create like your name.ai and then only specifically like and follow things related to AI, then every time you visit that account, the only things that you will see is related to that topic. So I tend to do that with a lot of things I'm like interested in at the moment. So like I'm interested in like a certain type of clothing or a certain type of fashion. I'll make an account like my name dot. And then I only like and follow those things. And so the algorithm, and that's a really good, YouTube the same way. You can create another little account, you know what I mean, and do the same thing. And that's it's one of my favorite ways.
Just wanted to add on to that. For
Yep.
me, to find stuff that's going on in this
Yeah.
particular industry, top 3 things Number 1, TikTok. Number 2, Twitter or X. And number 3, YouTube.
Yeah.
Just for long form content, short form
Yeah.
content.
Yeah. Twitter can be up and down. So you gotta confirm Twitter stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then Twitter specifically, there's communities, like there's Building Public, there's an AI community, there's a lot of stuff that's going on there. But again, yeah, you do have to verify.
Product Hunt, big time. I honestly say Product Hunt may be at the top of the list because those are actual founders building crazy off the wall stuff and they're launching it all the time. And so that's just kind of a cool way of seeing who's building what. A lot of time, Product Hunt. Yeah, Product Hunt is very powerful. I mean, every day, you guys go on it today and there's probably 70 companies who launched something this morning and you guys can see and test it out and see what's happening, what's being built. I don't know where we're at on time, but I can answer.
So real quick, you said to try something fun and
Yeah.
get familiar, but with being many small business owners in here, what's the top 3 to 5 things people should think about using it for their small business?
That's AI is one of those things where it's so vast. So to say that and answer that would be like, I can answer it for me. I think that the reason why I'm saying do stuff that's fun is you guys ever seen the movie Finding Forrester? I think it was Finding Forrester or it was Antoine Fisher. I don't remember but it was the guy that played 007. What's his name? My grandmother still thinks he's the hottest man on earth. Sean Connery. And so, but he was saying that if you don't know what to write, just write, I don't know what to write. And the more you just say, I don't know what to write, I'm lost on what to write, the more you do that, the more an idea will come on what to write. I'm saying do that with ChatGPT. That's why I'm saying do some fun stuff. That as a business owner, you're always thinking about your business, always. So if you go in there and just think about something random, but you keep going, it comes in, you start to be like, what about? But the idea is that never think that something is impossible because you'd be surprised. Like I thought something was impossible with Stripe. And that I did because I wanted to make gift cards and UPC codes, and Stripe doesn't allow you to do it. And so I was like, man, that really sucks. What if I just asked Chevy, can you write a script for me that allows for me to automate, things in Stripe? And it wrote the entire code, taped me the whole thing, saved it down, and now I have an entire app that basically makes that. But it's just as you're doing it, you're going to have these random questions. And then just ask those questions. But start with the silly stuff because the silly stuff is you saying, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, I don't have an idea, and it'll come.
I just learned recently you can actually say, hey, this is my business. How can you help me be more efficient?
True. I would say
Actually talk to the right person.
you can. I would start off though with your industry. You know what I mean? Because if you say this is my business, it will know that. I would say if you use ChatGPT, use 01 preview. I think that's one. That'll be one because it'll do more logic. But if you say like, this is the industry I'm in, or tell me about the industry, and then it'll do it. And then after you say, tell me about the industry, tell me more about the industry, then say, this is my company and how can I do it? Because then it won't just take your company and try to make it better. It'll take everything about that industry and your company and make it better. But yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Udacity.com. Yeah, you can get like nano degrees, but don't worry about the nano degree. But you can go in there. There's a lot of good people there. The Udacity is really interesting because it's people like from Google and from Salesforce and from that are teaching these courses. So they're actually the people that are in it day to day. You can kind of take some classes on. MIT has a really good course. I took that one. That was really nice. Right now, it's so out there that you could just kind of Google it and say you just want to learn, and you'll pretty much find everything. It's like, at this point, but I would say YouTube is top shelf to what the man right back there was saying. Yeah.
There's also
Hello, Alice. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Alice. Good catch. I don't know. How are we on in time? Oh, okay. No, we got some more time. Anything else, or we can end it early? But if you guys have anything you guys are building that's really interesting you want to share, go ahead. I would say,
We have access to products and give like honeymoon bonuses. You know,
Yeah.
you can't get it on excuse, you know what I mean? So nothing like what we have.
there's a company called Exactly.ai. It's one of my favorites, and it actually has it where illustrators can now go and then create a model based on themselves. And so now you can go to Exactly.ai as a company and then go there and then actually find an illustrator you like, and then you can use their model and make illustrations for your website for you. Now I'm getting to a point here. That illustrator productized themselves. So what does this mean? They now can illustrate for a bunch of companies, but now they can offer their actual service hand drawn at a higher rate, right? Because it's going to be better, it's going to be higher quality, and it's going to be a bit more specific. One of the things that you can honestly do is, one, find a way to build this, and then two, offer that hands-on white glove service now at a bit of a higher rate because you can get more personal and find a better deal, right? So the thing is it's not, that's why it's like we always say like AI is going to replace us. I think AI is going to make us more higher quality because we can focus on the higher quality stuff and let AI handle the more mundane stuff. So meaning that so for example, I hate building websites, right? That I loathe it. But that means that if AI is helping build people websites, they're going to build it pretty nice. But if you want that hands-on touch, I cannot charge you a lot of money because I didn't want to do it anyway. But also because you want so it's like if you offer something and now you're getting tighter on how you offer it, being more clear on what you offer, how you differ from everyone else, and then allowing you to be that human in the loop that some people are looking for, that can offer just the things that the AI won't. AI is going to get, like, AI is the worst it'll ever be today. So it is going to get better. But there is still that, is it going to go? And it's like, for example, I just told you, if you guys' websites are not in the loop, it won't connect it. You can be the reason that connects the companies that are not in that loop, right? And so there's always an opportunity for you. It's just that you can't be who you are today. You just need to level up. And then you'll always stay in competition. The same way with these illustrators. The reason why I said exactly is because, is it disruptive for illustrators? Yes, but that same illustrator now can just make, as an illustrator, if I work for your company, I have to create 17,000 illustrations just for you to say you like it. I don't like that one. Can you make it pop more? What does that even mean? You know, and so, but you can tell the model that, and then when you're cool and you go, I like this one, then that can come to me and I'll illustrate that one, right? So it's still the person at the end making it personal, but the AI was helping to speed it up. So one thing you can do is you can offer something like this on your site for the people who just need something quickly. The people who really want you, pay a little bit more. I say that one. I still didn't get the last part only because of the cough. Retail businesses. Yeah, my wife is inside of my wife is owns a skincare line. With retail, I would say it's in that same space of what I was just talking about. Like, what is it? Like my wife, she creates a skincare called Sunday, and it actually, her whole thing was, she said that a lot of women wait until they have personal. How she say it? It's like you guys work, but sometimes don't give yourself time, or you have to wait for permission to give yourself time to relax or time to pamper yourself. It's like waiting for, I do all the tasks on my list and now I can take care of myself. So she created Sunday to help women to like learn this. It's okay to take a break for yourself and pamper yourself. And so, but that's her ethos, right? That's the top part. And the bottom part is her skincare line actually does help with like tightening the skin and blemishes. These are all those things. The reason why I'm saying all that, outside of my wife is dope, is that kind of thing that when I go to search now in ChatGPT and I say, hey, and I'm a woman and I'm saying, hey, I'm just a little bit exhausted and I'm just not giving myself the time I need or all that other stuff. You'd be like, now it can say, well, one thing that you can do is blah, 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 blah. And also there's this brand called Sunday that is actually made for women like yourself. It ties it in. And so now, do you want to go ahead and try Sunday that it offers these things. So it's just like, what is the thing that the retail is offering outside of just the product itself? What's its mission? What's its value? Those are all the things that we always take for granted that now are like really important outside of just the thing. And that way it can come up in that search. And for my wife, I mean, that's why we focus so much on that part before the product, so that we can prepare her for that time when retail is now not visiting by www.com, but as a search in a chat. Yes. Yes. I'm looking right at yes. Yes. Yep.
So I have a question. I get overwhelmed when I know I want to do something, and you go
You're talking about AIs?
Yeah, just all the different tools out there, like you were putting out, that a lot of those, like Midjourney, and maybe that's not AI.
Hell, Midjourney is definitely AI.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the best.
Connect to it, I have to do a yearly subscription. And
Do you now?
I use it for one project, and
Is Midjourney yearly subscription now? It is? Wow. I was using it when it was $10. I might still be in the $10 a month. Grandfather then. Hey.
we're just talking about all these really cool things.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, my goodness, do you have a subscription to every single one of these to build your business?
So I do. But that's it. I would say that there's no way really around it. The ones that offer yearly, I would avoid. I mean, so Midjourney, I'm like, dang, that sucks. Because if I,
They used to have Discord, right, where you go and do the free.
yeah,
But now they have to just go to the website. That is a subscription. Discord stuff's built.
okay, then Discord. So then it might be the Discord way. So yeah, I mean, Foul. Now, I will say Hugging Face and Foul does have a lot of these things in it, and that is monthly. So you might have a backdoor way of trying it through Hugging Face and stuff like that. But I would say that there's really, I would say try not to have FOMO with AI as well, because I think that can do it. There are different things, like for example, Claude. Claude to me is not as smart as ChatGPT, but it's more human. Right? So I say that because I'm like human. But so what I'll do is I have Claude and ChatGPT. So because ChatGPT is a bit smarter, let's say you want to make a blog copy, I would make it in ChatGPT, get it to the point I like it, and then go to Claude and say, make this a bit more human or make this a bit more comfortable, and Claude will do a better job at it. So they all kind of have their different nuances, but that's why I say play around. Like, you just got to mess around with it. But I don't like the yearly subscriptions either. So, I mean, any way you can avoid that, I would back out of those, because the last thing you want to do is find something you don't value and then you're stuck in for a year. Yes, sir.
Just as I think you can create your own GPT and educate it of all the AIs that you have come across, and then educate it so that you can talk to it and say, what about this one? I looked at this one 2 months ago.
Fantastic.
Can you teach me what I was doing and learning from that one? And just keep educating that as you grow.
Fantastic.
Your own GPT to help.
Fantastic. That's great. I'm stolen. All right. Anything else before we close up? Yeah, we got about 2 minutes. Anybody getting ready to build something or build something or about to launch something, you want to like use the thing to say what it is? Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. I think that I actually think that you're going in the right direction, actually. Yes. Yeah. I actually think you're going in the right direction. I just keep being that human in the loop to connect the dots. Just stay doing that. Don't, like, when you're in the early days of building something, do not depend on it yet. For example, had I just made Storytailor and just did it, it would have been how many pedophile stories, because I just you got to be that person that's in there that's kind of finessing. I would say, like, we launched that July of 2023, and it's not until like now that Storytailor is and an automation, and even then we still go back and yeah. Anyway.
first of all, I'm the one that asked AI about to use AI. I have a super duper niche business, and I'm very intrigued by your service. So how do you get started looking into how you put somebody into AI universe?
So as of right now, it's really only going to mostly be hardcore SEO. Just really ensuring that you have a sitemap, that you have all those things. That's what's really going to be. But it's being really, really tight on the stuff that a lot of companies wait for the creative director after the company is raised, or they wait for marketing after they spend a little budget. We're getting to a point where you need to have that person at the table now. That person is C-level now. Why? Because that person's the difference. And so because that just happened to be my background, that's what I did with my wife. We focused on her values, on her mission, on her brand name, on like we focused on so much of that was the unique thing. Otherwise, it's just another skincare line, right? So it's just be stupid obsessed on that part, and that's going to be, and then let the SEO pick that up, and it ends up being that now when a person has a question, what is my why for using this skincare other than just going to Sephora, those kind of things. As soon as you do that, I can tell you with confidence that like Shopify and all these others are going to start plugging that stuff in. There's going to be plugins for that stuff, but just be ready for it now. Don't wait until later. So just find what makes you different. Just be really, really tight on that. I mean, from everything from your keywords to your language, everything. So when somebody feels a certain type, remember they say like people don't remember what you said to them, they remember how you made you feel. Maya Angelou, I think it's even more true with how AI is going to be, because it's going to be what people when we buy things. It's the reason why, like for example, we'll go to Target over Walmart, knowing Walmart's cheaper. I'm still going to go to Target. Why? Because of how I feel, and I think it's going to be the same thing. No. And then try it as much as you can around the web from blog posts to guest blog posts, to just kind of keep talking about what your brand does and how it does it. Just make sure that the internet itself knows you to be this person and do this. And then the AI will then kind of start to slowly catch up. Cool. I think we hit time. Thank you guys a lot. If you guys ever get a chance, storytailor.com. Visit that for your kids. Make a story. Thank you.